Questions, and let's start with one from Raj, who often asks us questions. Thank you, Raj, for your contributions. Raj, can you do therapy when you don't know what the problem is? What a great question. Because not only do new people to the field of therapy often don't know how to understand what the problem might be. Even us, experts, us old guys who've been around for a long, long time, get stuck sometimes, and we don't quite know where to start working. So how do you work with a problem where the client is not really communicating a lot? And, we can't get information from the past in terms of context and cause, and they're not very forthcoming with the symptoms, in explaining themselves. How do we work therapeutically? Well, I discovered a long time ago that there is a way to do this. And I suppose I was inspired really by Ernest Rossi years and years ago. It was in the 80s, I think, the mid 80s or something like that. Around about that time when I first trained with Ernest Rossi. And he was doing his moving hands technique way back then, and I watched him do this. And he came and taught it actually for British Hypnosis Research a while later. And when I saw him do this, it occurred to me this was the closest I'd seen to kind of distant healing, the faith healing thing, where you're healing at a distance, where the client's beliefs that they will get better are so strong that puts them on the right track. Maybe it's kicking in a kind of placebo thing, of course, but with the way that Ernie Rossi did it was with hands moving back and forwards, and basically like a physiological metaphor for their problem and the resolution of their problem. And I thought, okay, there must be a verbal version of this we can use. What can we do about doing therapy without actually knowing what the problem is? What do we say? And I remembered that, there's this particular, from the field of transformational grammar, Noam Chomsky, the concept of nominalizations as used in NLP. A nominalization often refers to a negative nominalization when a client talks about their anxiety, their problems, their troubles, their confusion, their depression. These words don't kind of mean anything unless you interpret them in terms of your own map of the world. So I decided why not do some therapy entirely based on positive nominalizations. So basically we're giving a kind of like this wonderful, wonderful kind of positive energy bath to the client. And they're kind of affirmations, I guess, but they're where affirmations can be quite specific. Like tomorrow morning you'll wake up and feel this ABC, or you'll think that I am the greatest person, healthiest person. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the nominalizations where they describe processes like improvement, discovering, exploring. These describe movement and processes, and but they don't specify how you do it. So what I did, I started creating this kind of therapy, mainly for when I was stuck and I didn't quite know what to do. And then I ended up also using it as a kind of, at the end of sessions, to kind of tiny loose ends up that I may have missed by giving them this kind of wonderful wash of positive nominalizations. So let me give you an example. Okay, let's somebody has come in for therapy. Let's say they're already in hypnosis. And what do you say when you don't know what to say? Well, if you use nominalizations, they sound very meaningful if you make them sound meaningful, if you say them in a very emphatic way. So let me give you an example how I do this, right? So it's like, okay, now you're sitting here and learning something for yourself. And I think it would be wonderful for you to continue learning these things for yourself, even if you might not know consciously how much you are discovering for yourself new ways of dealing with the various issues you've had in your life. And maybe you can actually have some kind of realization at some time where you uncover new ways of thinking And as you explore the potential that you have at an unconscious level to really move forward and benefit from the changes that are coming in various forms into your day-to-day life, it would be wonderful for you to start noticing how much better you feel, and maybe even without knowing quite how you're doing it. Because as each day passes, so these learnings continue, and you develop the ability to search and find and explore all of the wonderful ways to heal yourself without quite knowing consciously how it is happening automatically out of your conscious awareness. Okay, so basically I said nothing in terms of content, right? But I said a lot in terms of movement, momentum and movement in a positive way. So what's happening here is the client hears these positive nominalizations, and in order to understand them, they have to make sense of them in terms of their map of the world and how they perceive themselves and how the unconscious can resolve their problems for them. So the unconscious takes on board these nominalizations, which actually don't mean anything, but have a positive orientation. And the unconscious says, okay, I know what that means. It means, I have to do this for my client. I have to do this, I have to do that. My client's got to stop doing that, and do this instead. And so the unconscious takes it on. Because you're so artfully vague, you're never getting it wrong as a therapist, because you're not actually saying anything. You're just creating a momentum that's positive. Okay, so if you haven't done this before, have a go at it. You can even write these out. This is not unusual. People use this in day-to-day life sometimes when they don't know what to say, or they don't want to commit themselves to saying something, like in an argument, especially in politics. You'll hear it in politics. You'll hear it in all of the care profession. You hear it in social work, business, management. There's kind of these words, buzzwords they use, and they don't actually mean anything unless you are in that particular culture. And then you know what they mean in terms of the culture, because the culture plays a referential frame around it. So in terms of therapy, that's the referential frame. So everything must be important, otherwise the therapist wouldn't be saying it. So the brain makes sense of it, and then takes it on board, and then finds some way to resolve the problem, because you've created this momentum. Okay, Raj, great question, and thank you so much for asking that, because if you don't do it already, check it out and go and do it. It can be a lot of fun for you, but it does require some practice, because you have to sit down and think about your vocabulary, and then think about how to deliver it in a positive, therapeutic way that's influential, that somehow motivates people. Okay.